Welcome to From Head to Heart and Home. We're excited to have you listen in on our conversation. This is a channel created by women, empowering women to take intentional action in creating the life they want, with your hosts, Shanda Soretti, certified coach, and Carla Center, subconscious healer. And I am so super excited to talk about our topic today. We're going to talk about transforming your life despite your story. And Shanda and I were just talking about it right before, and I think this is going to be such an impactful and juicy topic. And I'm going to let Shanda start.
Yeah. So welcome everyone. I am really excited to see where this goes today. Because what a beautiful thing to talk about, transforming your life despite your story. So let's just kind of set the tone here so everybody understands where we're coming from or how we came up with this title. So this is all to do with the stories that we like to tell ourselves, aka the limiting beliefs, right? That we tend to live by. And so it's kind of derived from an experience that I had with a client earlier today. But this is an experience that we all have all the time and that we're always working on or working at, right? So what we're really talking about is when we get an idea, right? Some sort of idea to go do something, try something, create something, and we immediately follow up this brilliant, fun, exciting idea with a backhanded story, right? So, literally a story that takes you out at the knees, that almost acts as like a roadblock to you being able to create that thing or bring that thing to life or to fruition, right? So, I think that this is something we all do. I don't think there's a way of getting around it other than when you hear the story or the thought, you simply don't take it at face value. You don't believe it because it's not the ultimate truth, right?
Right. And when we are creating these stories, most of the time it comes from something that happened in childhood or some traumatic thing. And so our subconscious mind has this: I have to protect myself from X, Y, and Z. So we will gather all the information that will back those stories. And I've told you all many, many times that we get like the numbers are always changing because of doing more data, like 2.3 million bits of information through our five senses a second, and we get like 126
Hmm.
is goes from our unconscious to our conscious. It gets sorted out. And that is, we're trying to keep ourselves safe, right? And so if something fits into your stories, you're going to pull it in. So other information may have come that really would like support this new idea that you want to create. But these stories have been gathering information for years. And
Hmm.
that's where your limiting beliefs come from. So we can sit there and go, but this, and this show that this is what's happened in my past.
Hmm.
But know that you held on to all those things to prove you need these actions to stay safe, which is not true. It's
Hmm.
not true.
Yeah, the proof, right? We're always
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
for proof. There's a quote along the lines of, if you look, you will find,
Mhm.
right? Um, and so it's very easy to understand from that paradigm or from that belief that we will find the proof of whatever it is we're trying to back up and validate based on our experiences, right? And again, I think Carl and I have talked about this multiple times. This isn't from a bad place, right? It's from a place to keep us safe. So the intention behind all of this is not to do us any harm or to prevent us from growing, but it is absolutely 100% to keep us safe, to keep us in our comfort zone, and to keep us in the known reality of what we know today, here and now, right?
Right. And so when we have these new exciting ideas, it's part of the unknown,
Mm,
which can feel scary because we don't, our subconscious mind's looking for all the different ways to keep us safe. So this thing that steps out of our comfort zone, out of our norm, is going to pull in all the reasons why this isn't safe, when stepping on the other side of that can create something totally different, something really transformational, instead of us keeping us in that same pattern and loop that we've been in that leads to no growth.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of growth, when we have these ideas or downloads is what I usually call them, they're exciting. You get a feeling in your body, and before you think too long on it or maybe even voice it out loud, it's a really positive feeling in your body, right? Like you're excited, and then the questions start. Well, how or why and who and when? And it's like pause, because we do not need to know the how. What I would rather you focus on is knowing and trusting that these ideas come to you or come from within you because you're being called forward to create them, to birth them, or bring them to life, right? So don't deny yourself of that experience and of that pleasure, because I can tell you from having created many, many things now, especially within my coaching business, even though there might be roadblocks and lots of questions and lots of limiting beliefs that show up, working through all that and coming out on the other end, having created the very thing that, I received once when I was walking in the woods, is such a beautiful experience. And when you can tell already, like my energy shifts because I'm reliving how it feels to receive those beautiful and intuitive messages. So don't deny yourself of that experience. And also, don't deny the people who are going to receive your creativity and your message. Don't deny them of receiving that as well, right? I always like to say we're being called forward in life, and it's when we're called forward that it should be a really easy yes, as opposed to trying to push something forward, right?
Right. And if you think about the symptoms of the excitement versus the anxiety, they have very, very similar. So you may
Yeah.
be feeling this excitement, but the stories are going on and you're like, oh, I'm very anxious about this. But if you think about the fact that it's keeping you from feeling things that don't feel safe, it's also keeping you from feeling joy, excitement, just like accomplishment, all these things. When you don't step into that, because Shanda's right, you'll notice you're excited about it. And
Mm.
it might not even start out with your story as being the one that held you back, but somebody else says, well, what about this? And then your story spins, and there are reasons for these things, but also if we never expand, if we don't ever grow, we don't know the joy of different things in life. The world has so much to offer that we don't necessarily know about until we take those jump forward into
Mm.
this. We talk about inspired action all the time, but there's this inspired action, and it could be, you're like, I wasn't even thinking about doing something like this. When Shanda was going on her walk, I'm sure whatever came up was not even on her radar. And then she was like, ooh, what about that?
Mhm.
And I have the same things. You have dreams and wake up and you're like, what the heck was that?
Those moments only happen to me about every 60 seconds, getting an idea. My boyfriend likes to make fun of me because he's like, "You have many ideas." I'm like, "I do. I have so many ideas." And he told me one time, he's like, "You know what's really good about having so many ideas?" He's like, "Because one in every 100 is really good." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." So I just keep coming up with them and pouring them out and sharing them. And it's funny now because I apparently I start off with, "So I have an idea." And he's like, "Uh-oh." And he automatically knows it's probably going to be something crazy, but love him to pieces and he stands by me. But um this I think when we get these ideas, the way that I like to look at it now, which makes it seem a lot more fun and inviting, is an opportunity to learn more about who you are as a person, to uncover the things that light you up, really to like figure out where your joy lives. Because that, in my opinion, is the access. It's the tipping point. It's like the entry point of joy, right? And if you don't believe me, the next time you get an idea, check in with yourself on how you feel. Like I get all like really excited and my energy just goes, right? Like super high because it brings me a feeling of joy. So follow that feeling, right? And be open to wanting to learn more about who you are as a person so that you can feel deeply connected to yourself via the things that light you up and make you feel joyful.
Right. And what you find on the other side can be so empowering. So last year, I was hiding, this time last year, I was hiding in the background. I can tell you, I worked with clients, but I hid in the background. And I had this dream about doing a summit to empower women. And
Mm.
I'm like, oh my, this is so not me. I was scared to death. And I told my mentor about it because I was trying to figure out how to do it. She goes, oh, I will back you up. I'll help you. And there were times that it was very uncomfortable. Like the very first time I interviewed somebody, and I was like, the lady at the end of it goes, breathe, breathe during it. Were there times when it scared me? Yes. Were there, but it was so rewarding. And it also reminded me this is exactly what I want to do is empower women. I want to
Mm.
support women in having this joyous, beautiful life and being who they are, being their authentic selves. And had I not been like shared my excitement about this, I knew I was supposed to do this. It was a dream for crying out loud. And it's easy to go like I could have just picked speakers that I know lots of healers. I could just have kept it small and picked speakers that I knew, or I could expand out, which is what I did. And some people weren't happy that I didn't pick them, but unless you were somebody I knew that was in the dream, you weren't part of it. Why? Because it was my time to expand and grow. And I
Mm.
have because of that. And so the smallest things, it could be a dream, a quick thought, and it might make such an impact that you would never see the impact it makes in your life on expanding who you already are and you're not showing it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really interesting because when we talk about transforming our life despite our story, it's like the question for me comes up, what if our mission or our purpose is to prove all of our stories wrong,
I love that.
right? What if our mission is to prove all of our limiting beliefs untrue?
Right.
To look for all of the proof that they're not true. And if we struggle to find some proof of them not being true, go make the proof that they are not true, right? Blow the limiting beliefs, blow the stories up with evidence proving the opposite to be true, right? And it's like, I don't know, I get so lit up with this idea where it's like our lives are literally telling us what wants to be fulfilled and like everything we need is within us. All of the answers, everything that we need is there already. We just have to be willing to open up to tap into it, right? And to live into it. Um because gaining the awareness is one thing, but if we still don't take action from that place, then we're still kind of we don't move, right? We don't make any progress. So I think I just want to say to the people who are listening, that is my challenge to you today is to really take that on and don't do them all at the same time. But maybe there maybe there's one that's really prevalent, right? It's the most present and it's coming up. Like we always see things in patterns, right? We always notice patterns. And things tend to be cyclical as well. So they come back around. So pick one that keeps showing up and keeps reoccurring and go to work at dismantling that limiting belief in that story, because we call them limiting beliefs for a reason. They limit us, and they usually are born out of they're born out of a good intention, but they evolve into something that isn't true anymore, that isn't relevant anymore. So, why on earth do we want to be living from, let's just say, a map from the 5th century when nothing was colonized and we're trying to get from Canada to Europe, and it's like, oh, I don't even have the proper map to tell me how to get there, right? So this is kind of an opportunity to update how we operate, right? And create a really positive change and transformation in that process.
Right. And that's really beautiful. And it's really about what our channel is about, which is dropping from your head down into your heart.
Yeah.
Because these limiting beliefs, most of them are from 0 to 6. Think about if you asked a 6-year-old to make your decisions for you,
Hmm.
because that's almost what those limiting beliefs are. It's
My
the
life,
perception,
my life would be so fun.
right? But it's the perception the 6-year-old had about an event.
Yeah.
And it may or may not be true from somebody else's perspective, but that's how those where those safety things come from, right? And some of
Hmm.
them are useful, like don't stick your hand on the stove, you
Yeah.
know, but some of them, like you can't, don't speak up because nobody will want to hear what you have to say. um you're to be seen and not heard, which was very much a thing that my parents generation did, right? And so those are the things that you're taking on and creating stories from, that it it did work for you when you were a child. It did.
Hmm.
There was a reason for it, but as an adult, you're limiting yourself on what your life can be about.
Yeah. Okay. This is such a big one. And I remember when I learned this and I was like, oh my gosh, eye-opening. So I learned it as a parent, and I learned how I was using it. And then I got to realize the effect and the impact this has on our lives from start to finish, like entirely. The phrase, be careful. As a parent, how many times in the run of a day do you think we use that phrase, especially with little ones? Maybe not so much with older ones, but my son's 8 and I still find myself saying it because we live in the woods and he likes to go exploring, and he has his little perimeter where he knows he has boundaries and he's very good at following them. But I still have to tell him, be careful. Even when my partner leaves in the morning to drive to work, I'm like, be careful. It's like, whoa, like that is such a huge limiting belief, because when we're always being careful, we're never taking any risk. Like,
Yes.
no wonder why our lives as a whole look the way that they look, because we're told and we're taught to not go out on a limb, to not try something, to not risk anything. Oh, be careful, be safe, don't do that, could get hurt. Right? I'm like, I remember I was like, whoa, it changed my life. Actually, it really did. I'm like, I still say it. I still say it every single day. But then I follow it up with more of an explanation as to what I'm referring to, you know?
Right. And when you use the phrase be curious, then
Yeah.
you're limited, because how far can you be curious without being limited by being careful? Like
Mm.
it's holding you back. It gives you these little boxes, and we do that. I don't know how many of you, but I used to, every time like a family member would not answer, because when they were driving, something bad could have happened. You write these stories in your head, and then that takes away the joy of the moment
Mm.
when nothing's going on. Every time you let your kid outside, are you going to worry something bad's going to happen, instead of being excited about how curious they are about
Mm.
learning new things out there and creating new adventures? Like, and how much fun did you have as a kid playing outside? Like, you know what I mean? And those experiences that they can learn when we're like, what could happen?
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I grew up in the same type of setting my son is now in. I grew up on a lake with woods all around us, and I spent so much time exploring in the woods by myself, you know, playing with the water, pretending to be this, that, or the other, right? Like playing house and fetching water. And like we built camps and forts and tree houses and we did all that stuff. I even go at a really young age by myself and just go like sit in the woods or go like sit in the woods and listen to music. Like I would just sit there and not even really do anything, just be there.
Right.
Right. Um, and so I think, and I don't remember, well, I shouldn't say that. I very well do remember being told, be careful, like don't climb on that, don't jump there, don't play with that, right? And like you said, Carla, in the beginning, when we're first learning, you know, like the ropes of living like with other people in a house, it's like, okay, yeah, the stove is hot or the fireplace is hot. Don't touch that. Like be careful. But I find we stretch it out so far that we distill down what we're trying to convey, right? It becomes like a blanket statement over everything as opposed to just being very specific, like be careful around the wood stove,
Right.
be careful around the cook stove, be careful around vehicles, right? In a parking lot, whatever the thing with knives, like, right? It's like we don't have to go through life every single moment, everything we do being careful. And in fact, like you were talking about adventure and fun, that is what we're lacking. We're lacking adventure, playfulness, fun. And this is something that I'm working on this year to bring back with my clients and to bring back in opportunities for people is really learning how to cultivate fun and infuse fun into the things that we do. Right. I like to say that it's kind of one of my superpowers, meaning we work with some heavy stuff and some hard stuff sometimes doing this type of work, but I always find a way to make it fun, right? It's like we can always still have a little giggle or a chuckle, even if we're talking about something that is maybe not so desirable.
Right. Right. And when something's heavy, it doesn't mean that that's all it has to be. We can find so much more in everything than what we like Shanda was saying, we're be careful. Well, what do you want me to be careful about? The same thing when we're looking at heavy things, there's so much more to it than just the heavy thing,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, there's two sides to everything. Everything has the construct of like I want to say like the duality of like light and dark, masculine, feminine, positive, negative. Did I say light, dark, right? Heavy, light, um, round, square, whatever, right? Everything has an opposite.
Mhm.
Everything. Even our experiences have two sides. There's
Right.
a desirable side because I don't like saying positive, negative because that puts a certain
Mhm.
connotation on it, but everything has a desirable outcome and an undesirable outcome, right? And what if we could just shift to focusing more so on the things we want to create and the positive things that we do create and are already creating as opposed to being afraid and fearful and careful and that sort of thing when it comes to because that all stems from the limiting beliefs, right? The limiting beliefs and the stories that try very hard to run our lives. They try to create the boundaries and the guardrails. And like we've said many times, that served a purpose when you were 2 years old and you were going to fall down the stairs because you didn't know how to go down the stairs. The baby gate served a purpose. But if
Right.
you had a baby gate at 30 years old at the top of your stairs, you'd kind of be like, why the heck is this thing here? This is ridiculous. I don't need a baby gate.
Right.
Right? So we're allowed to remove and update and change our belief systems, right? And I encourage people, that is the very thing that I do with people is work on the levels of belief and identity so that we can update them to a point of where you actually are today and based on what you want to create, right?
Right, right. And as you were talking, I was visualizing a hallway. And when you don't allow to see the different things, you don't open different doors, you don't look out windows, then all you have is this straight and you never see anything different.
Yeah.
And so when you keep in those limiting beliefs, there's no possibility.
Mm.
You're creating the possibilities when you look at more things, when you're open to more, when you're like, okay, I know this story happened. I can possibly pull some good stuff out of it to use for the future, but outside of what good I can pull out of it, I'm going to let it go.
Mm.
What are
Yeah.
the lessons in that? And then I'm done with it.
Yeah, and just even thinking from a place of possibility, we become more open. And when I think of the word possible, I get like excited, right? I feel like I want to engage and I want to lean in. So even just kind of apply that to your life overall or in general, coming from a place of possibility is a lot more engaging and empowering than the opposite, right? So it's like focus on the opportunity and the possibility that's right there in front of you as opposed to the opposite, right? Think of how much more fun you could have in your life or how much more you could create, right? How much more enjoyment you would be able to experience just by simply thinking thoughts or having those beliefs of possibility.
Right. And instead of letting your story be the hitting the wall, what else is possible?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because I think on a daily basis, we all come up and hit a wall
Mhm.
against our limiting beliefs. That is what happens. Again, it's like hitting that boundary. Oh, don't go there. Oh, don't do that. Oh, shouldn't say that, right? So we're constantly I feel like it's a game of bumper cars. But it's like when we hit those walls or those limiting beliefs, instead of just bouncing off of them and kind of coiling back to where we were or where we are, it's like, what if we start to question them? What if we start to put a little bit of pressure, right? What if we start to try something different as opposed to bouncing back and coiling back? What if we're like, hang on a minute, I'm just going to stay here for just a little bit longer and see what happens, right? Right? So it's like, again, for me, it comes down to not taking everything that happens inside of our brain as face value, right? Because those thoughts and those stories can be crippling. They can really hinder your success and your fulfillment in life. They can really hold you back. And it does not have to be that way. There is so much more possibility waiting for you, but you have to be willing, just willing to see it.
Right. And being open to just how much more there is. How much
Yeah.
more there is.
Yeah.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you struggle to see the possibility that's out there waiting for you, just look to somebody who you know or you see on TV or whatever, and look at their life, right? If they're doing something, you can do it too.
Right.
Like the possibility is there. So whatever you want to create, there is proof somewhere out there in this world that it's doable because people are doing it, right? That's the proof. And then that also translate to it being possible for you to go and create as well.
Right. And if you look at it and it's something you really want and you just come up with this list of reasons why it's not possible for you, why?
Mm,
Why do you have that list?
right, right, right. And furthermore, how is that list supporting you?
Right.
It is supporting you, which I like to tickle people's brains with this one. It might not be supporting you in the way that you want it to or in the way that you think it is, but it is definitely 100% supporting you in creating what you have then and there, right? It's keeping you there. It's maintaining status quo. Do you want status quo? I don't know. Probably not. I don't think any of us want to stagnate. I think we all want to grow and learn and evolve. All right. I think that that's a natural human um way of being is evolving. That's just what we naturally intrinsic, right? Intrinsic. It's natural. I can say it a couple more times.
Right. Well, and we don't grow and develop from a baby up to an adult and then it's just supposed to stop.
Yeah.
And we learned all these lessons, and maybe we were careful because we were told to be careful as a child, but that doesn't mean that we weren't still learning, because we were learning.
Yeah.
There was our brain developed so fast, and there's
Mm.
so much, and we just, you know, imagine how quickly kids learn to walk and talk and all of that. We can do the same kinds of things, do something huge if we get out of our own way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, how are you, everybody who's listening, going to get out of your own way to go and start to make headway on creating what it is that you want, whether it's a job or a family or a vacation or a body or a bank account or whatever it is, right? What do you need to do to get out of your own way so that you can go and create that life for yourself? That's the question of the day.
Right. And if you keep bumping the same wall, write down the things that you tend to use to get in your way, and be like, next time that comes up, like, nope, nope,
Yeah.
that one's not going to be a block today.
That's right. Choose to no longer let them dictate what you do and don't do, right? It's a choice. I'm not saying it's an easy choice, but it is definitely a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And choices have never been easy. Like I said, since you were just little, you can, some people walk faster than others. And sometimes that's because the ones that walked faster just got up, took more steps when the others were waiting for something to feel more stable.
Mm,
So, how are you making the choice for something to be more stable before you go forward? Because
mm,
we can wait for the rest of our lives, and nothing's going to be exactly the way somebody else told us it has to be for it to work.
right. Right. Yeah.
So, and I love when we talk about transforming lives, because this is why Shanda and I do what we do.
Mm,
We love to support and guide you, and we see the limiting beliefs of ourselves, we see the limiting beliefs of you. Like, that's why I do subconscious healing, because we go down into the deep where it started, right, and find that, so that you can let go of it, because you don't have to stay there.
mm,
It is a choice. Staying there is absolutely a choice. So you have to decide, is that what you want?
hmm. Yeah. And from that answer, you'll know kind of what to do moving forward, right? And it's going to involve taking action,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we can't do anything from just sitting still.
No, absolutely not.
So, is there anything else that's coming up for you, Shanda?
No, I feel like we got to really kind of lift up some really cool pieces today. I think what I would finish with is just encouraging people to seek more adventure in your life, right? Like listen to the things that come to you when you're out walking or working out or driving, right? Or sleeping. Like really start to take them as a sign of where you're being called forward and infuse as much play and laughter and fun as you can in every single day, right? There is no better medicine than laughter. And I believe that through and through. So go make as much fun as you can.
Right. And it's that I love the talking about laughter, because we can laugh even when we trip, dust ourselves off and laugh at what happens.
Yeah.
And so if you have that belief that it can be fun, even the things that we believe to be difficult, it can be fun in the end. We can look at like missteps as learning experiences, and realize I learned from that. I don't know why I made that choice, but I learned from it, and I'm going to go forward and make new choices today, because I'm forever learning and having joy in
Yeah. Yes. 100%. Beautifully said.
it. So we are going to go. Thank you for tuning into our channel, From Head to Heart and Home, with Shanda and Carla. If you enjoyed our conversation, make sure you click that subscribe button so you can get all of our notifications. Be sure to join us next week for another authentic, connected conversation. Bye for now.